Have a quorum, I think Miguel's on his way,
Yes.
and Larry's not gonna be here this morning. He's in California, so. Welcome to our guests. Are any of y'all have anything to say?
Good morning, glad to be
Good
here.
morning. Good morning to you. Okay, have the minutes for the 1/8/14 and 1/31/14 meetings. Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Nobody has any questions about them, I'll move the approved.
Okay,
I didn't have any
on either set?
on either set.
Okay, well, there's been a motion to approve the minutes for the January 8th meeting and the January 31st meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried. Okay. Oh my goodness. Do we have to do item number 4? Let's move that.
Move it is closed.
We're gonna move that to closed session because we want to discuss that a little later. Okay, next in line is the order for the election. For Director Divisions 2 and 5, I think each of you has a copy of the resolution. Did you want to talk about it, Lisa?
Yes, good morning. As dictated in the Texas Water Code, Chapter 49.103B, it is required that there shall be an election in May of each even numbered year to elect appropriate number of directors. I've enclosed a copy for you of the order calling the directors' election to be held May 10th, 2014 for positions 2 and 5. So at this time, it's asked to be approved.
Okay. Don't have any questions, Lisa? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the call for an election.
So moved.
Art makes a motion.
Seconded.
Indar seconds. Any further discussion? No? Okay. Call for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay. And this is what the resolution is right here.
Okay. It shows the voting location.
Yeah, it's got, that's the legal form that needs to be addressed. Okay. Mary, you're on.
Good morning. On the investment report, we did have $3,075 of interest in the month of January. There is one CD coming up for renewal in March 22nd. And basically, the one for $2 million. We'll go ahead and reinvest that. Continue to invest it as is.
What I noticed in the general fund, that you had two and a half, almost 2.4 million. Were you planning on investing that in some higher, earning it?
I will be looking into that this month, Mr. Stubbs. I know we do have several projects that are ongoing.
Oh, you plan on spending it?
Yeah.
Now I am nervous. So you think you may need it, is what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay, I was just wondering, that's all that. Art, sure you got something?
No. I like the balance sheet. I like it now. I can finally figure out what the water is, and it's all set on the back. I think we finally got that squared away, so I can understand that.
I think we discussed at one point in time that we weren't going to go through all the depreciation and all that accumulated depreciation, all that parts of it. Do we change when? Or are you going to continue to account for that?
For the depreciation
Yeah.
in the fixed asset, it is accounted for.
But I mean, I thought we were not going to have to do that, because I don't think we ever did that before. When we changed, and then we were going to change back where we don't have
Well, the
problems.
problem is you don't have a basis for depreciation.
We don't depreciate it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought we had discussed that we weren't going to account for it in that manner anymore.
I think the GASB laws require you to, regardless of how useless the data is, and so that's the thing we can talk again to the auditor about possibly.
Well, I think
No, you don't have to
Right,
have that.
Yeah, I think.
talked to Mike 20 times about it.
Yeah, I think they agreed with us this last time.
I think they did too, I'm just saying that's one that they had made us do because they.
No,
No, I
agree with that.
understand that, but, you know, it's so complicated, it doesn't mean anything, and we get away from the profit stuff and where we just track the funds in and out. I mean, our expenditures and funds that come in and account for that, and I worry about depreciation, because it doesn't matter, I mean, it doesn't have any bearing on anything we do. And have you any plans to, do you have to change your whole accounting system, or?
No.
Or what do you have to do to not show that, is what I'm saying?
I would like Mr. Spear said, get with,
Right.
Donna.
Well, why don't you do that, because this, to me, this is really, doesn't really reflect, it never has, it's, ever since we started that deal, I thought, this is redundant, ridiculous, I don't know why we would have it, so. But at that time, we thought we had to have it, but we've cleared that up, so if there's some way that, I mean, I think it would simplify stuff, and less for you to have to track, and all we need is the in and outs, and where it goes, where it comes from.
Well, see, legally, this district is most akin to the county government. And if you look at the audit reports for the county of El Paso, that's all they do is account for fund balances.
So they don't show any depreciation or anything.
But see, you don't have a basis
Yeah.
for it.
And what-
Because we didn't buy
Well,
the
I
properties.
thought we had asked Mike about it though, no?
We did, and
We talked about it for 3 straight years.
I think they finally agreed this year that we didn't need it, so you might look into that. I mean, it's no big deal, but to me, it doesn't really reflect has no bearing on what we need, and it's just something else you have to keep up with, so. Any other questions or comments, Mary? Okay, let the record show no action. You stayed lively this morning, Mary. Barb must have been asleep all week. I don't know. $500 check report. Questions, comments?
I didn't say anything, I just noticed on that pension management, the employees took advantage of just $100,000 on matching funds.
Right.
That's good, that's good, man.
That's a good thing. Okay, no other questions or comments, Mary? Mary?
Do we still owe your rate commission 2 quarters?
We owe what,
Or what is it?
two, well, it's divided into quarters,
That's
so,
what I mean.
yeah. So this would be the first payment, Mary, or
This is to be like the second.
second payment?
Yes.
Starts
So we owe two.
October 1st. Okay, let the record show no action under 6B. Okay, Road.
Cindy's gonna do it for me this time.
Hey, all right.
Good morning.
Great.
Item E, the review of tax report and adjustments. We had 3. First one was, there was no garden in the community ditch and elevator investigated. So we removed the 2013 water assessment allowance. The first one. The second one, calling Mr. Jesus Martinez, I got it for Kennington Community Ditch. And to my list, I found that there was flooding during the first irrigation. The irrigation was reached to a particular parcel, determining 2013 water assessment allotment. Two. And then number 3, property was scheduled for February 5th, 2013 tax sale. There being no bid on the property, it was struck off by the county, El Paso County as trustee. We need to adjust 2013 tax assessment, taxable 50 days, and tax exempt 315 days. Those were 3 adjustments.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept the adjustments.
Approved. All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
Shindar seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you. We have E, the 2013 2013 El Paso Public Service Board leases and assignments. So far, we've had 229 leases, processing fees, 21,100. And collected in delinquent taxes, 17,467 with 18 cents.
That's great.
An ongoing project.
That's really been a worthwhile project. Huh?
It has.
Great.
Really good. You can see, we have a comparison of EPCWID tax assessments and collection. And during, it's corrected from 2011 and 12 to 2012 and 13. Our percentages have gone up from 2012 to 13.
Look at how close that figure is from one year to the next, 2,000,083 and 2,000,806.
And did you see, even that first one was like $27 difference between that 289,000.
Yeah. The December deal,
That's amazing, so it must be the same people.
must be the same, it's up, pay it the same one year. And we're up to 90%, which is not much. Okay, so I'm sorry.
Sonia, real quick, I'm sorry, if you go back to that last, that up, that's what service board assignment,
Yes, sir.
where you show, if you look up from the bottom, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, what you remember, 23 and 24.
Yes, sir.
And in the far right, it says leases will be sent. You show no leases, but you show money collected.
They pay
What does
the-
that mean? You're gonna end up showing like a 1 on
No,
the number
sir.
of
What
leases?
happened here is that they sent for delinquent taxes that the subdivision owed. We just haven't received it from the public service board yet.
All right, so when you get that official notification, you'll put down on that second column number of leases, you'll put like a 1 or
Correct.
so we can,
We'll,
okay.
we'll up it, yes, sir.
But you've already collected the money.
Yes, sir. They already sent payment.
And Sonia, what you mean by these notations that leases will be sent to EPC at a later date for borderland? The PSB has told you they're gonna send you some assignments?
Yes, sir. They already completed with Harold, the developer, and yes, they have also paid the taxes on that, the labor taxes and the fees. So they will be sending us the leases probably by next month.
If I may, what they wanted to do was pay in January instead of February, to pay without penalty and interest.
The same for Valley Creek.
What do you mean they wanted to?
The public service board is paying the taxes, and they wanted to pay in
Well, the public service
January.
board's not getting kind of waiver on taxes.
No, sir, no,
They
no.
pay the full taxes.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
They just wanted to avoid paying penalty and interest.
Okay, we're not, sorry about that, all right?
And our last D is a report on tax suits filed by EPCWID and income checks. We've had 5 accounts paid in January. And we've had 3 accounts added since December. We had 350 accounts in December, and in January we updated to 353.
All right, Sonia and Rose, don't some of these eventually you just take them off?
Yes, sir, but,
But you have to wait till the, I know some of these people, they're paid up, and it looks like there's
well,
nothing.
what happens here is that not only do they owe taxes for the water district, but also for the city,
Oh,
which collects for 33 other entities. So not till all taxes, court fees, et cetera, is paid off, will they actually file a motion to release the suit.
oh, so
It's still.
they may not owe us anything, but the suit itself has not been released.
Exactly.
Sure. Okay. All right.
227 of them paid in full. Only 353, so that's not a bad percentage, in a deal like that. Okay. Any other questions or any questions of Sonia? No? Thank you, Sonia.
I thought for sure you all were gonna ask her some questions.
Thank you. Have a good day.
She did too, that's what she was nervous. Next time, Sonia. next
Rose has been working very closely with Sonia and teaching her everything she knows in 30, what is it?
35 years this year.
35 years?
time.
And
If you learn it in the next 35 years, you'll be okay.
She's gonna last another 35 years so she can teach me.
Sonia just completed a week-long school at the Central Appraisal District also, where she got certified.
Yes.
She passed all her courses. And
Was that the one Jimmy Thompson was teaching? James Thompson?
No, sir, Connie Rose from the tax
Because he
control.
was.
Since we don't tax on a valuation basis, what do they teach you at that school that's of any benefit?
Benefits of taxation, everything has tax, we're a special entity, of course, but we have to go through the whole protocol of how the system works, tax exemptions, how they collect taxes, how they're prorated, the value.
The city or who are you talking about?
Central appraisal.
Central appraisal.
Is what gave the-
They don't collect the taxes.
No,
All
sir,
they do
but
is,
they had a class, the comptroller, the state comptroller had a class there in their facility.
the controller doesn't know a damn thing about this district, you know.
Yes, sir.
They know about collecting taxes.
Yes, sir.
Keep
Well,
the
they
record.
don't, all the law firm that collects our delinquent taxes is the one that knows what they're doing.
They weren't offering us good.
Them do things, help us.
Well, even our attorneys attended this
Correct.
seminar.
Well, that may have been appropriate for them to do that. But see, they're representing many of the people too. They're not just representing a district like us that tax on an acreage basis.
But it helps them gain knowledge and what they need to do in their job is what it's amounts
Yes, sir.
to. Okay, thank you, Sonia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wait a minute, Sonia.
Yes, sir.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Yes, sir.
Good timing there. All right, General Manager, you're on.
Okay, item A, the Real Compact meeting will be March 19th and 20th in Santa Fe this year. It'll be, this year it'll be at the Hilton Hotel right there on the plaza. I've been working with Sharon and Commissioner Gordon's secretary, right, Sharon?
Yes.
We haven't been able to talk to the commissioner, but we talked to the secretary. What we need is a count of who's going to attend this year, so Sharon could go ahead and make reservations for us.
He's brave enough to go to Santa Fe this year. I'm going.
I think I have to go.
I have to check my calendar. That sounds like a date.
Don't chicken out now, just because
No, that
they're
sounds
carrying
like a date.
arms for anybody from Texas.
It's a Wednesday, Thursday.
Sounds like a date, yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Sounds like a date that I might have a conflict with.
And how are you going?
I wasn't planning on.
Chicken.
I think you need to be there.
It's up to the board. If the board wants me, I'll try to arrange my schedule, but as the commissioner told me, he says the only thing's important is the night before the reception.
Which is true. Which is true, it always is that. I'll go the night before and then you go.
Well, early in the, yeah, later in the evening, everybody gets way too intelligent.
I like to have you there unless it's a real.
What's the date?
19th and 20th.
So is
Of
it
March.
19th the reception?
Yes, 19th is the reception, the 20th is the meeting.
It's not that you'll add anything, it's you might glean something that we need to know.
Well, things are just so delicate because of the U.S. Supreme Court Rio Grande Compact case. And
I'm saying, you're brave enough to go to Mexico.
I guess you're aware, Al, that Tom Bowl has left the Attorney General's office.
Yes.
And so our only direct link into the office is Priscilla Hubenak, who's a good person, and she visited with me at that party the night before the meeting extensively, and that's where I found out what was developing on that case primarily. So anyway, I hope you'll be able to go.
Okay, well, you guys get back with Sharon as quickly as you can.
Yes.
So.
We'll need a
Maybe
count.
Al and Larry too, I don't know.
Right.
You said
And we're waiting for the commissioner to let us know if his plane's gonna be available this year. To travel up.
Nobody wants to ride that damn plane. But me.
I'm willing to.
And I'm gonna drive so we can have
If I have-
transportation up there
if I
like
have to.
we did last year.
Well, yeah, I'll drive if we don't, if the plane's not, I might even drive anyway, 'cause I might rather drive my jet than fly in his jet.
Okay, so if you all will get us a count, we'll try and, they were wanting to know right quick on the rooms especially because they go fast,
Okay.
okay?
Where's the, did you say it's on the plaza there?
Yeah, it's the Hilton on the plaza. It's on
I was
the,
just up there and I don't remember the Hilton. I
yeah,
remember all the
it's
old
about a
time.
block away.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
The
a nice-
meetings will be held in there too.
The reception and the meetings will be held there also.
Oh, the whole deal?
Oh, the whole thing's gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's important,
I mean,
early reservation, so that way you don't have to stay somewhere else.
But I'm going, so,
Okay.
indoor, I'm sure it's going,
Yes, sir.
so. All right.
All right. Item B, we're working on the wells, getting them ready. We're going to start firing them up, so if you all see them running, don't panic, we're not running the wells, we're just making sure they operate. And
You're not running them, you're just running them?
They're just
no,
for
but
testing
they won't
purposes.
stay on long, we'll run them for a little bit and check, see what the water table does and so on for Al, and getting some numbers, and then make sure that
Have
the
you checked
engines.
the water table now, the static water?
Well, they're holding off operating any of the wells, so we finish the survey, which is scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday.
You check all of them, or just
Yeah.
what?
All 63.
The drop.
There we have them, benchmarks on every well, and we'll give you a report like we did last year.
Okay.
That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll have it for the next
My
board meeting.
groundwater dropped only to 8 foot 4 inches in my farm, or about 7 foot.
Of course, yours is
So I just dropped a foot then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we were predicting about for every year, we'll foot to 18 inches.
We don't know I'm excavating right now, we can measure
Of
it.
course, you're down there with that hard pan where,
Unless I'm sitting on a perched water table, which I might be where I'm
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I'm kind of
at. I have
scared on
5R
mine.
upstream, you probably say.
yeah, so
Because-
that is
so I-
always been a drain moon, you know, it's always
It's
been.
got a lateral.
My water table was at 40 feet, and it's dropped
40?
8 feet.
Here in the town? Where your house is?
Yeah.
40 foot?
wonder-
I would not have expected that.
Well,
Yes.
you can think that they don't put as much irrigation
How
water in
did you
there,
find out?
they got city wells up there.
We had that sound.
Somewhere around there.
Oh.
Well, in that whole area, I mean,
Yeah.
wherever, so.
Wow.
And you don't really irrigate them, what we're doing is
Yeah, we're constantly
kind of
refining.
recycling.
It drops off about 20 feet,
Hey, Mike,
half mile.
Have you got anybody, working in the world, I mean, anybody else in charge?
Well,
Then-
yeah,
or just on
Pete,
the-
Pete and Martin are handling it,
Okay.
and we're gonna keep it like that for the time being.
Yeah, that's good.
And then this, item C, the 1906 meeting, the last meeting we had with Mexico and EBID, Gary didn't attend, but I went ahead and announced for him that we were sticking with the June 1 date, release date, and Mexico
What
jumped,
date is that?
Mexico jumped right on in and joined with us. Of course, at the tail end, they made a request to see if we could release, we would consider releasing around the 21st of May, but we're sticking to that June 1 date so far. And we'll be visiting again next Wednesday with Mexico. And then item D is that seminar, the Law of the Rio Grande, and this year's topic will be the Rio Grande, the first 1905 appropriation by Congress, and it'll be April 10th and 11th. I don't know if Jim and Phil were interested in attending that.
Right now, I don't think so. And the reason is, all that would happen is that I was there, or Phil was there, is that the lawyers in New Mexico would try to cross-examine us on the Supreme Court case, you see, which is romping along.
They might try to teach you the real law as from their perspective.
That's right.
I think it's called tar and feathering, Jim.
Yeah.
I agree.
See, Jim's smart enough not to go.
But anyway, that's coming up, and so if anybody's interested from the board members or Jim and Phil, that's,
Well, see, the lawyer that could easily attend, if you want a lawyer there with you, would be Maria O'Brien.
and I know Chris Rich is going to attend, and some of the USBR.
What good do those things do?
Make you feel good.
Not us.
I mean,
It's
a
in
lot. I just, think it's a chance to everybody get together and have the reception the night before, and that's a bunch of boring stuff that everybody already knows.
Sometimes you pick up on some intelligence though.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's
intelligence, that's what I'm saying, as far as that goes, but.
a little bit. It's good to meet with Chris. That's one of the most productive things we've had is.
That's what I say, the reception beforehand.
I know Larry Wolkowiak's gonna be there, and so is Ken.
I think it's important that
Mike Harris.
somebody from the district go just to meet with Reclamation. That's about it. You don't have to go to the conference.
The reception beforehand and the coffee breaks are the best.
Right.
That's where you,
I think
that's where
last
you
time,
learn the real deal.
I don't believe we registered last time. We just waited
We
in the
went.
lobby. We sat in the lobby the whole time.
There you go.
And that's all I had, unless you all had any questions. I know we got off the subject of the wells quickly. We've fired up some, so far about 15 of them, and they're all in order, and so we've been monitoring them during the winter, and
Some of those engines get quite a few hours on them. You got spare engines?
we do. We've got 6 spares,
You may be using them.
and our mechanics have gone through all 6 of them, and
I don't
so we'll
mind
be able
them.
to switch them out. And then remember, last year, the engine that went bad on us at the tail end of over there by your place, Ken, we completely overhauled that engine. We've got Luis, our mechanic, is terrific on John Deere engines. And so he completely went through it, and it's like a brand new engine.
The sequence and the hours on them, I talked to Carol this morning, and she gave me the hour report from last year. I didn't have it, but it's we're probably in the phase of almost 20 or so a year. I mean, we put lots of hours.
That's what I say, they're gonna be getting a lot of hours
You
on
have
that.
to remind the board every time that was designed for 3 years. We knew the engine, we over-designed the engine.
Sounded to me like you blew the design if it lasted this long.
We bought a 3-year the biggest issue that's still in front of the board is the casing on the well.
Oh, yeah.
Because
You know,
we are gonna start losing well.
If we don't mess with them,
They'll be all
they'll be
right.
fine. When you start messing with them, when you're on the problem.
Yeah, and the problem is we're actually having to rebuild impellers now, which makes sense too. And so they are messing with them a little bit, you know. We have to convince the guys when they pull those things not to use them like a ringer on a bell.
Yeah, I know, kind of be
Very gently.
slowly bring them straight up, right?
So anyways, there needs to be that consideration that the engines now, which were the longest life component of the whole project, are reaching their rebuild time.
Are they, the wells, the engines, are they local, or are we shipping them in, or we buying them?
Well, no, they're all, of course, they're John Deere's, they're coming out of, we bought these out of retrofitter for irrigation out of Arkansas engines, but we just bid them at the time. But these now, you're going through South Plains, or which,
For
engines?
what?
Who got the low bid on the replacement engine?
We haven't replaced it.
Never, you just rebuilding?
We're just rebuilding ourselves in-house. And I feel our mechanics can do the
I'm just
work.
thinking from the standpoint where if we buy volume, or we buy multiple engines, do they provide service agreements with these wells?
You can, it's usually not South.
Yeah,
And we've only lost one, that we lost a rod.
we're equipped
To
to
the
handle
sidewalk.
ourselves.
And they can all be rebuilt.
Are most of those wells straight?
Yeah, they're short, so shallow.
They're shallow, and then we're done with that auger.
Yeah, they're
Would
very
it
straight.
would it be prudent to consider lining those wells next year?
Yeah, yes, we've talked about this multiple times, and
What about it?
I think they all need to be lined. So.
PVC liner or?
I think the diameter's too big on our casing. PVC has a weakness in terms of diameter. The bigger the diameter, difficult.
Well, I
We
understand.
I recommend
Inside that other steel.
3/8
is what I was-
sleeve, yeah.
Because if you did it with PVC and it didn't break while you were doing it,
And eventually, the problem is we have stresses down there, which are a problem with the wells right now, even with the steel lining, it's collapsing. But also, it would tend to be that when we would weld this string of 3/8, that's why the board didn't do it, it's expensive, and it'd be a 20 to 30-year casing though, instead of the light steel casings we have now. We'd actually probably drive some of those in.
you know, those were those strings, yeah, they should go right in pretty easy if those welds are straight and haven't moved a whole lot.
And if they're not, that's what I said, we drive them.
You know where those casings wear out is at the water level.
Right, that's
up
exactly
high.
where they're wearing out.
That's up high.
And Onik and Scove came by to visit with me last week, and they offered, they've got some used pipe, so they offered of all sizes to do a test well on sleeving one, if we wanted to.
To do what now?
To go ahead and line it.
Do a demonstration, which I
Yeah.
think is a good idea.
Can't hurt.
You know, the problem with, you know, trying to line at the water level, and I've done quite a bit of that, none of it successfully, you know, first, they make a device that, you know, looks sort of like a accordion casing that you slips down in, and then you put a hydraulic machine in that expands it. Every one of those I've ever done is that it doesn't work. Eventually you lose integrity of the entire well at that water line, even with that.
Well, no, you need to
Slice.
line it all the way to the bottom.
You gotta go to the bottom
No,
so that
no.
the weight of the thing is supported by the end of the well.
No, you gotta go to the bottom and you need to get by that first deal and probably won't have any problem at that.
Yeah, there might be a hybrid lining, we look at the same money where we went with 1/4 inch or something for the most of it, and then a 3/8 at the, where we expect the water line.
I think we probably need to have that in the back of our mind for next year.
The other
Maybe by
option.
this year.
Yeah, the other option to do, which we haven't done any of this stuff, is that primarily that corrosion is caused through electrolysis and oxidation with the interaction of oxygen and and we could look at sacrificial anodes on all the wells, but we didn't do that.
What?
They're typically magnesium anodes that sacrifice the magnesium before it sacrifices the steel. You know, they use them on all the ships in saltwater conditions, and
What do they look like and where are they placed?
they just look like long strips of, and they're very
Welded,
and attached.
welded
What-
to the,
Yeah, and like on boats, they use zinc a lot because it's a little cheaper, it's not as effective, but they weld them right onto the hull, right? And so the idea being that, and it has to do with the chemistry of electrolysis and the periodic table and all those things I won't go into. But, it would first attack that anode as a corrosion point before
to
it
like
would steel.
eat that anode first.
Problem is that we probably already eaten through most of the steel. so-
Yeah, it's too late to do it.
Probably too late.
No, it's too late to do anything.
But, you know, on a commercial municipal.
Well, maybe if
well,
we plan
it's
and get
standard,
ready to
so-
do it, it'll rain enough where we don't have to.
And we've had
That's
mixed,
a business.
we had mixed results of that too, in terms of success of that, you know. There's some places you have to use them on wells, but even there, of course, you have to maintain the anode, you have to replace it periodically.
They sell those for the swamp coolers here, Christina, the anodes, the magnesium.
Do
You
they-
put them
you
inside the
place
swamp
them
cooler in the
inside
pan, and it'll, yeah.
That's what it's a little pill of some sort.
The
that you
pill,
put in
and there's a
there.
rod that you ground, and it works pretty well, it saves the bottom of
Wow.
the pan for the swamp cooler.
Oh, I'm like Johnny, I hope it rains, I've been washing my pickup every week.
You
I
better.
Maybe
We wash on the windows of our
our
house every week.
You know, I keep thinking the weather has been so extreme everywhere in the world, I guess. We've gone to extremes from one way or the other. I keep thinking one of these days we're gonna get the extreme amount of water up there instead of the extreme amount of drought. I don't know what day that is, but, I mean, somewhere else we'll get it. Okay, Chewy, is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Al?
Yeah, you know, can we take, what we do, since Robert, you're here, can we go ahead and move their items up, and then we'll get to
We
the
sure may. Okay, Pedro, you're on.
Good morning.
Order.
The black picture.
Might have to start with the narrative. The computer was turned off, sorry. It's coming up, it's over.
And I guess we could start off with the, I don't know if you've touched bases on the testing that we did on the
Well, I've
shot
not,
creek.
I've not gotten there, no,
And she had talked about it.
but, we can start with that.
Did you have your? We went ahead and had, construction quality control, do some testing on the shotcrete that we're pouring here at the Franklin Feeder. And, there was actually, that I saw, there was 2 tests that were taken, one for strength and one for the slump on the concrete. After 7 days, They actually go out there and they pour I think it's a 12 by 12 flat piece of like a tile. Then they go in there and they cut it into 8 pieces. They'll test some of it 7 days, and then the other will be tested after 28 days. Well, after 7 days, we were at about, let's see here,
Should be at a
73%. 73% on one and 76% on the other one.
Right.
Which is 2,920, and on the 76 was 3,040. The concrete we're ordering is a 4,000 PSI. So.
You mean it didn't pass?
Well, no, this is only after the 7-day test.
7 day,
It should be at full strength after the 28th day.
Okay.
so theoretically about 70% after 7 days, and it broke above it, so, which was good. And they took 6 cores, so they have 4 other ones, and they'll break 2 other ones at 28 day, and obviously if it fails, they'll do another 2, but we were exceeding it after 7 days, so, yeah.
If it fails, what do you do? It's already poured.
Well, start removing, and that concrete company will be
take your sledgehammer.
responsible. It'll be paying a
warranty
significant
call.
fee.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, that assures us we're getting.
We bought that from CMEX, didn't we?
It's
Yes.
a bid process, yeah, we're receiving what we signed up for, requested, which is always good.
You're gonna have to run it off your.
I don't have an HDMI.
And these samples were done on the 22nd of January. So we're getting pretty close to the 28th day. I don't foresee anything failing, being that we're so high after 7 days. But the possibility is always there. I really doubt it.
It's probably just, there you go, Petro.
That was a report.
Oh, there's the report.
Yeah, that's the report, 73%, 2,900 PSI, and then 76%, 3,040, so yeah, we're well above the expected. So, yeah, that was good.
It's a very low probability that if it passes the 7th, it won't pass the 28th.
Yes.
I've never seen, in fact, I don't think I've ever seen one. Some scenario.
These are just some of the projects, I showed you this one here last month, on some of the turnout, on how bad shape they are, and here we were actually burying a pipe under the 154. Okay, that's what it looks like right there. This is right by the church right there on the Isla. Action going in, and then what we did is we went ahead and lined all the way up to some existing concrete that was there.
It used to be a check structure, you know, I think, years and years ago. That was
Rub roller?
That was a check.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. And here's the farmer's ditch. That's the pipe that actually goes under the 154. That's the 154 with the new turnout in place. That's kind of what it looks like after we're done.
Are you using fiber mesh concrete?
Yes, yes. Wherever we don't put any steel, we do.
Right.
Pavements Interceptor, this is there by Richard Bill's farm, doing some work on the drains. He had been after me for a while there that he needed this drain cleaned. I know he was selling the place, so it makes sense to me now. That's what it looks like after. Nomex's drain.
There's no water in that,
No. There's very little drains with water in it.
right? There was no water there in Nikki's? Yeah.
That's the,
Okay.
that's Dickies right there. That's right there by the Grandview.
Yeah. Wow, okay.
There's the Nomex is over by, just upstream from the Canotillo. Same drain, but this is over by the start, over by the heading of the Nomex is where it actually starts, by the Navion East. And here you'll see a culvert that will need to go in there. Actually, there's 3 culverts here that will need to go in there and replace. These culverts will be at the farmer's cost. They are crossings for his farm, so I've made contact with him and he's agreed to buy the pipe to replace them. You can't even see the pipe there. This is the head of the Sanelli. Sanelli, we started off with the pipe corroding. When we removed the pipe, everything under the structure was undermined, so we had to redo the whole structure. And we tied into an existing shed that was in place there in the Sanelli. There's the forms for the walls, and then Robert needed to put water in here, so it was a kind of a real quick process. That's the downstream side after it was completed, and then the upstream side. I've been getting a lot of complaints here from residents. This is up here by Craddock, Yarborough, where they want me to go in there and start removing some of that dirt that's against the walls. They're claiming that the dirt is pushing the walls down. You know, I've assured some people that once we go in there and remove this dirt, that dirt might actually be holding the wall up. So I'm having them sign waivers, relieving us of any kind of liability before we go in there and do any work.
We surveyed it for the right-of-way boundary?
What we did, El, we went in there and we just kind of went off our profiles.
Up the center line?
Right.
So where are we on that?
Well, we're not encroaching. I mean, what happened here is that over the years, this has filled up with dirt here.
Used to be against the toe slope.
Right.
Like the electric poles holding it more
I was gonna say that, they're probably pretty close to your.
And
Yes, all these right here. Or actually, if you look at them, they're right here.
so do you think the right-of-way is right at the top of the embankment?
Yeah, right about here, right where the arrow's at. That's where our right was at.
So okay. Yeah, we need to talk about that.
And up to right now, we still haven't done anything. Like I told the lady, I go, well, right now we're swamped with work, and this is something that will be done during.
Don't start anything, let me go work with legal and
Okay.
get the right paperwork on
Okay. Riverside, this is some of the work that we've done. We've pulled out of the Riverside since back in January. Robert ran water down the Riverside, so we had to kind of pull out. And then as the same token, we needed to leave some of this growth for some of the Indian ceremonies.
And what happened there is IPWC went in and completely mowed their vegetation.
In the Rio Grande.
In the Rio Grande.
Not in the canal.
Right, in the Rio Grande, so in the spirit of cooperation, we found some of what they utilize, and so we're gonna leave it until they have their ceremony in June, and by that time, hopefully their growth will come back along the river. We've identified, or they've identified with IBWC, their sections that they want left alone.
This is a crossing that we did for Mr. Spence up there off the waste channel, where I believe he's gonna start doing some transplants on the other side of the drain. So he paid for the installation of this pipe and this crossing.
That's a big pipe.
Cool, how much is that?
That's a 90-inch pipe. That's a 90-inch pipe, but again, as you can see, the waste channel carries quite a bit of water.
That their project?
They
pay it for your installation?
Yeah.
They pay for the evaporation.
and we're doing the work, so to make sure it's
It's done
a
the
proper
way.
grade, yes.
And to this point, all we needed to do was put the goalposts in the front to make sure that we identify the inlet and do some cleanup. But that job's been completed, it was completed yesterday. And we continue to work on washouts. These are the only two equipments that I've got actually working on washouts right now. We're still repairing washouts from the rains that we had here back in, I believe it was October. And this is right there by Riverside Road or Chicken Ranch Road and Herring Road. I believe this property belongs to Surratt. And then this is another, this is actually check 3 and check 14, where we're actually going to go under the tornillo with some pipes so we can go ahead and run well water from one side of the tornillo to the opposite end. This one here is on check 3. This is actually Greg Spence project. Again, he paid for the project, he paid for the pipe. And we're going in there and doing the work. That's the old existing pipe that was there. And then this is over at check 14. And this is being done for our Tony Ransich.
That's going under also?
That is going, yes, sir. It's going under, and actually this one will tie into the Malone.
Okay, was there already an existing one here too?
Yes, there was.
How far along are you?
Well, right now, we're just getting started. We're just starting to dig the trenches out, but what I've instructed my guys to do is we're gonna go in there, do all the work inside the tornillo so we can pull out.
Okay.
Then I'll work on the ends once Robert can run some water in there. That's actually his ditch there. And here, what we'll be doing also is we'll be pouring about 100 feet of shotcrete over the pipe where we open cut, just to assure any kind of ditch breaks or anything done for that. And then the Franklin feeder, this is our shotcrete project. Majority of our people are still there. I'm trying to get this done by the end of this month. I was out there this morning and did some measuring, and so far we've done approximately 1,600 feet, and we lack about 1,800, so we're not even halfway yet. So I'm gonna have to gear up and probably start another crew and make sure that we get done here within 2 to 3 weeks.
I think we changed the technique a little bit so that it's faster now, right? Or feet per day or up quite a bit, I think.
Right, they're pouring actually six trucks a day.
So we're up
So
2 trucks, right?
the-
So 50% increase.
The delay, we pulled them off a few days because of those cold spells.
Yeah, we couldn't pour when the temperature got down.
Right.
But overall, even though we've had weather delays, the increase in productivity, as we said would happen, was Pete got used to the equipment, is up 50% from what it was when we first started 2 years or 3 years ago. So they're reaching about the level that's be the max, and they'll make some minor improvements. But that's pretty good. That's back up to what we were targeting at 400 feet a day or something.
And most of the work with the equipment is completed. All we're doing now is shotcrete. All the earthwork has been done. It was finished here last week. So we really should be.
We got good weather forecast for the rest of this week and part of next.
Right. That's what it looks like after the earthwork is done. This is where we actually started right there by Passmore. We were first getting geared up to start it. And this is right there already coming into the Franklin Canal. And you can see where we're at in the cockpit. You can just see right there where those trucks are at. We had to go in there and relocate 4 turnouts because after going in there and making that channel narrower, we had to come in and bring those turnouts in about 6 to 8 feet. We're using the cherry picker now, which they love because it just gets that weight off their shoulders. And it's just making it a lot faster too.
Yeah, that's a big technique change.
The only bad thing about it, I don't know if you noticed, but that cherry picker was a brand new cherry picker.
It's a rental?
It's a rental. That's the construction company that did the testing for us. Those are the cylinders of the tiles that they poured. Then they picked them up the following day.
How often do they test that concrete?
Whenever we request,
Okay.
this is right there at the Salibra checks, part of the Franklin Feeder project. We went ahead and we redid all the ironwork on the checks themselves. And the heading itself, I don't know if you all knew, but the heading failed on us here this past year where it undermined it. So we just patched it up to complete the season. And you can see it right here. We were hoping to leave the structure in place and just pipe it, but after we removed the concrete behind it to see what was back there, everything under the structure is hollow. We got big boards all underneath this.
What's the life cycle from regular iron to galvanized iron? And the cost difference, is it, there much of a cost difference?
Like for the pipe or?
No, the channels. The channels, the ones the verticals that you're.
Oh, the beams?
The beams.
Well, I don't think we've ever used,
We've had a problem with galvanized here,
Yeah.
typically, especially, not quite as much with water contact, but soil contact, we can't use the galvanized. Raw, bare steel will last longer than galvanized.
Really?
Yeah, so we've stopped using it in contact. We have gone to aluminum gate structures to set, because they wear better than.
Because all your head gate structures are galvanized, I thought.
No, most of them are just.
it's all steel and cast iron.
It's just cast, well, it's hardly a little bit of older steel, because some of them were put in the 20s. But I'll give you an example. We replaced the structure down there, like for Hudspeth, we replaced the entire structure. We had no problem with the steel, and it was installed in 1928.
Oh,
They're having more problems, same with the gates, right? It's thinner steel, so the gates we switched to aluminum. And we don't have any problem.
so there's no problems really with regular steel?
Yeah, no. In fact, it's our preference to keep it as mild steel.
And the gates are a lot lighter too.
Yeah. Now, the only thing that we make out of stainless is the hardware, the bolts, and because of the thread and the issues with the electrolysis, and then the stems have to be stainless because of their machine to go through the nuts and everything, the brass nuts, and so they need to stay as stainless. I don't think, we do have some mild, all of our turnouts are mild steel stems, right?
Right.
But those are hand operated, not electric.
Well, the older ones, because all the new ones are stainless also.
Yeah, we're switching all the stems to stainless. We've had problems with that. It doesn't take much issues with the stem to really mess up the brass nut, because it uses a very mild metal brass to actually actuate the stem, and so if you get any corrosion or pitting on the steel, it destroys the nut. The biggest problem with these check structures, if we can say, is that these structures weren't built, they're all built in the 20s and 30s, and they weren't built to the reclamation standard at that time. We don't really understand why they weren't built to the standard, but they weren't.
They've got no footing now.
They were built in 1920?
Yeah, between 1925 and 1930 and 1941.
Well, give them a break, it's only been about 80 years.
I know, but still, if they were built right, they